So we're continuing now in the Maamar of Beis Iyar, the Maamar the Rebbe said in Tafshin Chav Ches, 1968, on Erev Rosh Chodesh Iyar, and then the Rebbe edited for Beis Iyar Tafshin Nun Aleph 1991. And as we mentioned in the introduction in the beginning of the Maamar, this was a time, both when the Rebbe said the Maamar, the year Tafshin Chav Ches, it's a very powerful time, the historical time, and even more than that, in Tafshin Nun Aleph, the Rebbe had just said, do everything you can in order to bring Mashiach, and it's obvious that this Maamar explains to us the essence of what it means to bring Mashiach. And what we learned until now in the Maamar is the fact that the main avodah that a Jew does is the avodah of birurim, refining and elevating the physical world. And through elevating the physical world, we reveal the purpose of creation. And then the Rebbe explained that in refining the physical world, there's two aspects. There's one thing which is simple, which is pretty obvious, something that we know and we've learned many times. And that is, when a person goes down, when the soul goes down from its high level where it was connected to Hashem, and has to be involved in the physical and material world, by refining the material world, it reaches a level that it wasn't able to reach beforehand. And that, in the words of Chassidus, through being a segel, the dot below, the dot that goes below the two dots above, going down into the world, one reaches a level of sigulta where the dot is higher, completely connected to Hashem, v'yisem li sgula, the powerful connection to Hashem. That was the first idea. In other words, the neshama up there is not yet fulfilling its purpose. The neshama up there is having an amazing time. It's exciting, it's connecting to Hashem. But by fulfilling the purpose of creation, which is making a dira b'tachteinim, dealing with the physical and material world, the neshama reaches a level that it couldn't reach when it was up there, because it's now fulfilled the purpose of creation. It reaches the very essence of Hashem. That was the first concept that was explained. The second concept that Rebbe explains is something even deeper. Not just as a result of what the neshama does down here, it reaches a higher level when it then goes back up to the spiritual worlds, because if that was the case, all that needs to happen is the neshama is down here, it accomplishes what it has to accomplish, it then goes up to Gan Eden, and in Gan Eden it's now on a level which is much higher than wherever it was before it came down. But that's not the reality. The reality is that even the neshamas that were in Gan Eden for 3,000 years, 3 times a day they've gone higher and higher, the highest and greatest levels that the neshama can reach. And the people who in this world, they've accomplished their mission in the most powerful way, the Avos and Moshe Rabbeinu, in order to reach the complete fulfillment, they have to come back down into a body and have tchias amesim, and that's where the completion of the fulfillment of their purpose. So that's where the completion of the fulfillment of their destiny is. Which means that it's not just that we have to work down here in order to reach a higher level, but also the actual higher level that we are reaching, the higher connection to the essence of Hashem that is achieved, can happen specifically down here, not anywhere else. And the Rebbe connected this idea to the concept of Mashiach, that also with regards to Mashiach, it's not just that we work in the physical world during the time of Galus, we refine the physical world, and as a result there is the fulfillment, the coming of Mashiach. More than that, in the coming of Mashiach itself, when Mashiach comes, the ultimate connection, and like the Rebbe explained with regards to the capital that we say after Sfiras Vayomer, the ultimate Elikim Yichaneinu Vivarcheinu, the ultimate blessings and abundance of blessings that comes to the Jewish people, is when Kisish Beit Amim Mishar, when Hashem is also refining and showing the purpose that the nations of the world reach their purpose, not only through refining the world, but even in the time of Mashiach, the ultimate blessing then also is dependent on the world being elevated and refined. Just before we continue on in the Maamar inside, a very interesting concept regarding this. There's a sikha from the Rabbi, which the Rabbi said on the second Shabbos of Hanukkah. Now, usually Hanukkah has only one Shabbos. Very seldom, much rarely, is there the second Shabbos. Now, in the Haftarah of the first Shabbos of Hanukkah, Zroni v'simchi bas Tzion, it talks about the menorah and the lighting of the menorah and the Beis HaMikdash and the spiritual menorah, etc. The second Shabbos, when there is a second Shabbos of Hanukkah, because Hanukkah is also about the Chanukas HaMizbeach, about the dedication and the completion of the Mishkan, the rededication that was in the time of Hanukkah. So the Haftarah of the second Shabbos of Hanukkah is Vatishlam Kol HaMelacha. It talks about the completion of the Avodah of preparing the Kelim, the holy vessels for the Beis HaMikdash. And the Rabbi asks a question. The Rabbi says, is this what we're talking about on Hanukkah? Talk about using the Kelim in the Beis HaMikdash. Talk about dedicating them and using them to serve Hashem in the Beis HaMikdash. What's the point of talking about completing the making of the menorah, the making of the Mizbeach? Is that what it's all about? It's about using it in order to connect to Hashem. And for this, the Rabbi says that there's two ways of looking at Dira B'Tachtainim. One way of understanding Dira B'Tachtainim, making a dwelling place for Hashem down here, is that how do we cause the dwelling place to Hashem, which is the connection to the spiritual essence of Hashem, it's as a result of what we do down here. Hashem didn't just create a spiritual world. The ultimate creation is the physical world, and through what we do down here, there's a purpose and a goal that comes out that we get and we achieve the ultimate spiritual connection. The second idea, which is a deeper idea, which is the true meaning of Dira B'Tachtainim. Not just the spiritual connection that we attain as a result of what we did down here, but the ultimate revelation of the essence of Hashem is down here in the Tachtainim, in the physical material world. And the Rabbi gives an example. When a person goes out on the street and he meets a Jew and he says to him, Good Shabbos. Or he meets Lahavdil Goy, he says to him, Good morning. There's two ways of looking at why I'm doing this. Either, just like we know the Baal Shem Tov would first speak to a person and do them a material favor, or he would speak to them and ask them how you're doing, and as a result he was able to connect them to Hashem, to connect them to the spirituality, to their spiritual mission. Which means, I see a Jew, I have to see what I can do to try and get him to put on tefillin, to get him to learn chassidus, to get him to do something more in Yiddishkeit. I can't just start just like that, so I first say Good Shabbos, I start a conversation, and the outcome is now the spiritual entity, the spiritual connection that I'm going to have as a result. I see a guy, I need to influence him to do Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach. I first have to start with good morning, and then I can go on to the conversation and start talking to him about his mission of Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach. That's one way of looking at it. And the Rebbe says that is not the ultimate Dira B'Tachtainim. The ultimate Dira B'Tachtainim, of course, I need and must do what I can so that every Jew should keep all the mitzvahs and learn chassidus, and that a goy lahavdil should do the Sheva Mitzvah Noach, etc. But there's something even deeper just with the very saying good morning or good Shabbos. When I say good Shabbos to a Jew or good morning to a guy, I've made now a Dira B'Tachtainim, I've made a connection between the tacht and between the person down here and the essence of the person who's connected to Hashem. The connection wasn't made up there in the spiritual thing that he did later. The connection was made down here in his full being and existence as a creation down here. And that, the Rebbe says, is Vatishlam Kol Avodah. It's not only, of course, ultimately we're going to use the Kelim in the Beis HaMikdash in order to serve Hashem. But the deeper meaning of Dira B'Tachtainim is in the Kelim themselves, in the physical, material Keli, in the fact that we finished and completed it. That's an even deeper idea of Dira B'Tachtenim. And it's the same idea that we're explaining here regarding the neshama coming down into this world and regarding the time of Mashiach. Of course, there is this idea that as a result of what I do in the physical and material world, I attain a much higher spiritual level in Gan Eden. But the ultimate is not Gan Eden. The ultimate is when the neshama comes back down into the body, and the ultimate achievement that the neshama has is in the physical and material world down here in the body. And the same thing, that's what the Gili of Yemaisa Mashiach, the ultimate Gili of Yemaisa Mashiach, is not just as a result of what we do during the time of Galus in the physical and material world, but the ultimate revelation of Yemaisa Mashiach is that the essence of Hashem is revealed in this physical and material world down here, even as it is in the time of Mashiach. Which also gives us a very strong appreciation of what we're doing now in our Avodah in the time of Galus. It's not just a preparation for the time of Mashiach. It is this itself which will be revealed in the time of Mashiach as well. And now let's continue to see how the Rabbi explains it inside in Ois Tes in the Maamar. V'al pi ze yuvan, based on this. That was explained earlier with regards to the fact that even in the time of Mashiach, the ultimate revelation is going to be Kisish Beit Amim Mishar in the physical world. Yuvan Mashin is Boir Li'il. It can now be understood this that was explained in an earlier Maamar. That the Rebbe explained in the Maamar Kimeitzeischa of Achron Shel Pesach of that year of Tavshin Chavches. That the Kasav Medam Mehagula Hasidah Lagula Dietzias Mitzrayim, the fact that the pasuk in Micha compares the future redemption to the Gula of the time coming out of Mitzrayim. Ki meitzeis chamieretz Mitzrayim arenu niflois, just as the days that you left the land of Egypt, I will show you wonders also in the time of Mashiach. This comparison that the pasuk makes between the time of Mashiach, between the future redemption and the redemption of Yetzias Mitzrayim, is not just regarding a general idea, but it's regarding every single aspect that will be in the time of Mashiach. It compares to every aspect of the time of Yetzias Mitzrayim. Koilal, including Gama Inyan Diruchush Gadol Shaya B'Yetzias Mitzrayim. Also the abundance, the material abundance of the great wealth that happened when the Jewish people left Egypt. And just as all the things that will happen in the future Gola will be a lot higher than the way they were in the time when we left Egypt. And as the famous explanation that Chassidus explains, in I will show you wonders, that yes, it's true that the wonders in the future redemption will be similar and in every aspect to the wonders of the time of Yetzias Mitzrayim, but together with the similarity, they will also be wonders in comparison to the wonders of Yetzias Mitzrayim, meaning that the wonders that we saw during our exodus from Mitzrayim are going to be like nature compared to the great wonder in the time of Mashiach. It's the same way with regards to the riches that will be in the time of Mashiach. That this abundance of wealth that will come in the time of Mashiach will be even considered wealthy and considered a treasure even in regards to the riches of Yetzias Mitzrayim, which means when a person has $1 million, for him riches is $1 billion. When a person has $1 billion, for him riches is $10 billion, etc. So regarding the riches that they had in Yetzias Mitzrayim, which was an abundance of riches, as we know, that it says that there was not even one Jew that didn't have at least 90 Libyan donkeys that were loaded with the gold and silver of Mitzrayim, which means they were filled with riches, filled with material wealth. And yet that's called nothing in comparison to the riches that will be in the time of Mashiach, which will be totally incomparably more, in a way that it will be riches even in comparison to that. As we can understand this also from the fact, She'amru Razal, the Chazal, the sages tell us, Sholish matmoinios hitmin Yosef Mitzrayim chulu. When Yosef was king in Egypt, he hid 3 treasures, 3 great hidden treasures. One of them says different things happened with each one of them, but the important one is that va'achaz genuza latzadikim lasid lavei. The third one of them is hidden, and it's waiting for the tzaddikim in the time of Mashiach. Since we're saying this as a medrash, we're talking about Yosef HaTzadik, who was in Egypt, and he was hiding material treasures. So it doesn't leave the simple meaning, Shamatmoin hagonus l'tzadikim lasid lavai, hu gam matmoin shel kesef v'zahav gashmim. The treasure that we speak about that is hidden and concealed and waiting for the tzaddikim in the time of Mashiach is material silver and gold. It's actual treasure of silver and gold. Moreover, in the time of Mashiach, we say that all the material wealth, all the material goodies will be like dirt, like the Rambam says, which means that it's going to be such an abundance that the presence is going to be just like earth is everywhere. There'll be so much of it, such an abundance that all the madanim, everything that there is in the material world is going to be like dirt at that time. Now the Rebbe asks a question. So this is the fact that the Rebbe is establishing, that we understand that it's obvious that if everything is compared to the time of Mashiach, that means that we'll also have this abundance of riches, only it will be much more in abundance than in the time of going out of Mitzrayim. However, the Rebbe asks the question, mitzorech bir, obvious question. What is Mashiach all about? What is the meaning of the time of Mashiach? What's the concept of it all about? That at that time, the earth will be filled with the knowledge of Hashem just as water covers the ocean bed. That's what we're waiting for. That's what it's all about. That is the amazing greatness of the time of Mashiach. All physical and material goodies, all the physical and material things will not even take place. They won't mean anything to us. To the extent that we say that the entire involvement, the entire business, the entire doing, everything of every person, the entire world will be involved with only one thing, the knowledge of Hashem only, and nothing else. Nothing else will be important. That's the other explanation of Madani Mitzuyin Kafar. They'll be like dirt. They'll be worthless. Nobody will even look at it. So the question is, why is then there an importance? And if the sages are telling us about it, and if this is part of the Gula, that means that this is an important part of the Gula, that there'll be these great riches. Why is that important? Nobody will even care about the riches. All we'll care about is the spiritual achievement of connecting to Hashem. And now the Rabbi explains the answer. The fact that the body, by nature, derives pleasure from physical, material objects, which means madanim, valderech zerechush gadol. The fact that the physical body derives pleasure from all types of pleasurable material things and from the great riches that there is from being from physical and material riches. What causes the physical body to have that pleasure? Who? What's the real reason? Lefi shinyanim eila shayachim lahaguf mitzad inyanim apnimi. the physical things that there are in the world have a connection, an inner connection to the body, to the physical body, because of its inner essence of what it really is. And why does the body feel a connection and a pull and a desire for the physical material world? Not only because of the body is material, because of the coarseness of the body. We look at our physical existence and we know that why do I want? Why does my physical body want all types of pleasurable things in the world? Why does a person want to be rich? Why does a person want to have a nice car and a nice house, etc.? Because my body is coarse, it's material, it's ego, it's self-centered, and its coarseness, its material, its matter, the material body feels a pull and a desire for material things. The Rebbe says there's a deeper reason, and actually that's the main reason why the body really is being pulled. Why the body really feels a pull towards the physical material objects of the world, because of the inner essence of what the body is really all about. And therefore, al yidei haruchush gadol v'hamadanim yitosev b'mal haaretz deis Hashem. Because and through the great riches and through the abundance of pleasurable objects that will be then in abundance in the time of Mashiach, this itself will increase in the earth being filled with the knowledge of Hashem. Al derech ha'inyan shaneshama tiyeh nizenes ma'guf. Similar to the idea that we say that in the time of Mashiach, the soul will feed off the body. Which means there's a real existence of the body. It's something which the Rebbe very often brings in Maamarim. That the real reason why the world is a yesh. We know the world is a yesh. It's an existence. It feels itself to be an existence. In fact, the only existence that there is in the entire Seder Hishtalshlus that feels itself to be a true existence is the physical world. Because anything spiritual feels its source, it feels where it's coming from, it feels what it really is connected to, and therefore it doesn't feel itself as a true existence, it only feels itself as a derivative of a higher existence, of a spiritual existence, of another spiritual existence. The world feels, I am here because I'm here. It doesn't feel any source. The physical, material world feels, here I am, this is me, and it feels like a yesha amiti, a true existence. So we know it usually as the world feels like a true existence. That's actually the whole negative aspect of the world, that it feels itself as a true existence. And because it doesn't realize the truth that it does have a source, it comes from the spirituality. That's the whole clip of the world. It's a shell. It covers over the true realization. The Rabbi explains that there's a deeper reason. Because the root and the source of the physical existence comes from Atzmus, the essence of Hashem, which is the only true existence that exists. Anything in the spiritual worlds comes from some higher spiritual energy, but it doesn't come from the essence of Hashem. The physical world, the only way it can be created, something from nothing, is as a result of the physical, as a result of the true essence of Hashem. That's what is invested in it. And therefore, what causes the world to feel itself as a true existence? Because it really is a true existence, but not the true existence that we see, but the true existence of Atzmos, of the essence of Hashem. And this physical existence of the physical body, because it's physical and material, it also feels a pull towards physical and material objects, towards madanim, towards rechush gadol, the great riches, because it connects to the spark and the essence that's within them as well, just like that's what's within it. And therefore, that's the real reason. But now, we don't feel the real reason. And that's why in today's day, we have to, unless we can connect it to spirituality, we have to stay away from that material world. We have to use it only in order to refine and elevate the sparks. But when we're refining the physical world and elevating the sparks in the physical body, we're refining the galus, the concealment. It's not just so that later we can forget about it and throw it away and then connect to the essence of godliness. No, later on, we're going to connect to something that's deeper than what the neshama can achieve. We're going to connect to the very essence of Hashem, but as a result of what we did, the neshama will also be able to connect to the very essence of Hashem. That's what's going to happen, Lasid Love, in the time of Mashiach, and therefore at the time of Mashiach, there will be even greater riches and material pleasures than ever existed in history, and as a result of those, that will increase our ability to know Hashem and to be filled with the knowledge of Hashem, because we'll be able to connect to the very essence of Hashem. So it's not just they'll be there for some other purpose. The ultimate essence will be revealed through the physical and material worlds. Now the Rabbi continues in Ois Yud, it's explained in Chassidus in various places. We're now explaining this whole concept of the higher source of the body, higher than the source of the soul. So in Chassidus it explains, the neshama and the guf are similar to lights and receptacles, vessels. Everything in this world has its energy, its spiritual energy, and then its physical keli, the receptacle, the vessel that contains it, the container. The soul is the oil, it's the spiritual energy, the light. The body is the container that contains the spiritual energy of the neshama. Now we know that in the spiritual worlds, the root of kelim, of these containers, so to speak, is higher than the root of light. Why? It's not something which we can go into at length at the moment, but the general concept is that the light is only a shine of godliness. It only reveals godliness. It's not the essence of Hashem. Whereas the keli, the container, comes from the rishimu, the imprint. It comes from not revelation, but from the essence. It's not a light, it's not a revelation, it's the essence. The power that Hashem has to not just be limited to unlimitedness, but the ultimate unlimitedness of Hashem is the fact that He can even be expressed in limitedness. But that limitedness actually expresses the essence of Hashem, and that's the keli, which is much higher than the earth. And therefore, just as through the lights, the energy being drawn down and enclosed inside the containers, that causes an advantage, that causes an additional power, an additional strength to come down into the light, because they're able to now reach something that on their own they couldn't. On their own, all they are is a revelation of godliness. Now they're actually, as a result of them coming and sustaining and giving chayes, giving life to the container, they now receive what the container has, which means they receive that higher root of the very essence of Hashem. Similarly also, K'moi Kain, the same way Ugam b'neshama v'guf is regarding the soul and the body, Shalidei yiridas haneshama v'slabshusa b'guf, through the neshama's descent and it's coming down to be enclosed in the body, Mis'alis haneshama lemadrega nailis yeser, the neshama is now elevated. The soul is elevated to a much higher level than the way it was before its descent, before it came down. So this is what happens in the neshama and the body. Through the neshama coming down into the body, it actually attains and reaches the greater root, which is the essence of godliness, to which the body is connected. Pia Yodua. Now, based on this, that we know, that the fact that the creation of the world is for the Jewish people. We don't just mean that the creation of the world is for the Jewish people, meaning it's not only the physical world, the actual world is here for the Jewish people, but even more than that, all the revelations, all the spiritual revelations that exist, they're all there for one purpose, for the Jewish people. Based on this, Yeshleimar, Tatam apnimi al zeh sheshoresh hakelim ulamayla mishoresh ha'oros. The inner reason for the fact that the root of the vessels, the containers, is higher than the root of the light, which that's something which we can understand also from the fact that the containers contain the light. The light doesn't contain the containers. Yes, the light now sustains the containers because at the moment it needs to have a chayes, it needs to have an energy from somewhere. But the fact is that the containers, the kelim, they contain the light, which means they limit it, showing that they're more powerful. Why is it? Because their source is so much higher. Like we said, they come from Rishimu. Why is it that these kelim are higher than the oil? What's the real reason for that? And for the fact that the kelim, the containers actually cause the light, the spiritual light, to reach a higher level, that there's an advantage that comes into the light as a result of the kelim. Why is it like this in the spiritual worlds? The ultimate purpose of light and vessels is for the Jewish people. So that now through the Jewish people, through the people of Israel, the idea of the soul and the body comes down. Since ultimately the root of the body is higher than the root and the source of the soul. Why? Because it's in the body that there is the free choice of the essence of Hashem. Therefore, the oiris, light and vessels were created, came into existence in a manner that the source and the root of kelim is higher than the source and the root of oiris. Let's try and understand this concept. The simple way that a person looks at it usually is that the oir and kli, that's in the spiritual worlds. The fact that oir and a keli, the keli is higher than the oir, the source of the keli is higher than the oir, that's in the spiritual worlds. In the Kabbalistic explanations and the way it's explained in Chassidus is that oir comes from kav, keli comes from rishimu, which means oir comes from that light that has to go through the tzimtzum, which has to go through, since it's a light, it's a shine, it's able to be confined in the fact that it has to go through a tzimtzum and a repression, that the light becomes concealed and condensed. The keli, on the other hand, doesn't go through a tzimtzum at all, because it's not a light, it's not a shine. It's just the expression of the essence of Hashem. That's called the rishimu, the imprint. It's only expressed in a way that in this world it comes as a kli. Now, because the neshama comes from the oir, because that's what the neshama is, it's the light that comes into the body. The body, the physical body, the guf, comes from the kli. So just like the root of the kli is higher than the root of the oir, also the root of the guf of the body is higher than the root of the neshama. The Rebbe says just the opposite. The real truth is it's just the opposite. Everything that was created in the world, sure, that's how we see it in Ishtalshus, because first we see the spiritual worlds, then we see how it is down here with a physical body and a soul. But when Hashem made it, He made it for the purpose of what the Jewish people will do as a result. So when Hashem made Oir and Kli, and He made the Kli be higher than the Oir, He made it with the intention that this is in order that now when a Jew has a neshama and a guf, there'll be the root of the guf which is higher than the neshama. Which means that essentially if we want to look at the real source of it all, the source is the guf and the neshama. Now when we look at that, we see something amazing. Because we explained earlier in the Maamar that when Hashem chooses the Jewish soul, why is Hashem choosing it? It's free choice, it's an ava atzmis, it's a love which is an essential love. It's not dependent on what the soul does, just like the love that a father has for a son. But we said that even the love that a father has for a son, even though it's not dependent on any specific thing, but the love is only for the son. It's still limited. There's still a reason it's not fully pure, totally unadulterated and with no side, with no ulterior motives. It's motivated by something, and that something is the existence of it being the son. Whereas the love that Hashem has for the Jewish body is not motivated by any ulterior motive. It's one pure, unadulterated love, because that's much higher. That's the essence of Hashem in the deepest way. So that's why the guf is higher than the neshama. As a result, also the kli is higher than the oyer, and that's how Hashem put it into the shtalshus of the world. Now the Rabbi continues to explain, Ella, however, sheben neshama v'guf, zeh shesherish haguf u'lemayla misherish haneshama, regarding a soul and a body. The fact that the source and the root of the body is higher than the root of the soul, that expresses itself in the fact that the body is where there's the free choice of Hashem, that which Hashem chooses freely. A free choice, which is totally unconnected in any way to the greatness of the body, because it doesn't come because of any greatness. There is no greatness there. Whereas in Oiris and Kalim, which came from that, which comes in order that there should be like that in the Neshama and the body. The fact that the root of the Keli, of the container, of the vessel, is higher than the root of the light and the energy. Shayich lein in the kelim. This actually has to do. This is something which makes sense. Why is the body higher than the soul? Not because of something special that the body has. Because the body has nothing special. That's why it's higher, because it's a free choice of Hashem. The keli, the reason why the keli is higher than there, we explained it in many different things. It's containing it. It's able to condense it. It's more powerful than it, etc., etc. That it's the expression of the unlimitedness of Hashem, that He can even connect to limitation. But that has to do with the keli itself. It's not something which doesn't have to do like by the guf. Now, because yes, the original reason why Hashem did this in the Oyer and Kli is because so that it should happen in the neshama and the guf. But essentially, the way it works in Ishtalshlus, in the chain of reaction in the world, is that first there's the light and the vessels, and then as from there comes a chain until it comes down to be the same way in the neshama and the body, which are like the light and the vessels. So therefore now it becomes the same way in the neshama and the body. Even though essentially it has nothing to do with the greatness of the body. On the contrary, the body has nothing. That's the greatness, that Hashem chooses it with free choice. But now, because it's now being connected to the light and the keli, so now it becomes such also in the neshama and the guf, that there's something special, because now the guf is like the keli. Just like the keli has something in it, the fact that it's why it's higher than the oir, because of its ability to constrain the oir, etc., etc. The same thing now happens with the neshama and the guf, that the guf, the body, has now in it, receives in it this maila, this advantage of the fact that it's able to contain and limit the soul, etc. Says the Rebbe, now that based on this we can explain the reason, for the fact that the advantage that comes through refining and elevating the nations of the world. That these nations of the world, their source, they receive their sustenance from the angels. Whose root is from the containers, from the vessels, from the kelim. This is why this advantage is not just now and as a result will reach a spiritual advantage in the time of Mashiach, but even in the time of Mashiach. The Elokim Yechoneinu Vivarcheinu, the blessings for the Jewish people will come as a result of the Sishbeit Am Mishar. Why? Why is it that through the Keli there becomes an advantage in the light? Is because the true source, as we said earlier, the true reason, the true root, the true source, and the true reason why Hashem put into Oir and Kli that the Keli is higher than the Oir is because, and in order that it should be like that with the Neshama and the body. And therefore, just like the elevation that the Neshama has as a result of it having worked in the body. Is not only that through the Neshama working in the body, later on it reaches a higher level, in Gan Eden, once it leaves the body. Elabat, as we explained, Shagam Alio Atzma Delasid Lavai. Hishan Nishaman Izenis Minaguf, even the elevation of the soul itself in the time of Mashiach is when it comes back down into the body, and not only that, but at that time the Neshama will actually feed off the body, it will receive its sustenance from the body. Therefore, because that's the way it is in Notice and Kalim, so now it becomes like this also in the advantage that there is through the Kalim, as well as the advantage which comes in the angels that come from the Kalim. As a result, also the advantage that comes through refining and elevating the nations of the world who receive their sustenance from the angels. Just like the advantage of the Neshama is not just from the body, but it's in the body even in the time of Mashiach, so also, similarly, the advantage of the Oid is from the Keli, not just as a result of the Keli, but in the Keli, which that Keli is the Malachim and the nations of the world, even in the time of Mashiach, that advantage will be in just like in the Keli, just like the advantage of the Sham will be in the body. And that's what's going to happen also in the time of Mashiach, that through the judging, the straight, the direct judgment of the nations, which means the elevation and refinement of the nations of the world, they'll be added and increased more in the abundance of blessings that comes to the Jewish people. Now the Rabbi continues, it's known, why does the Neshama want to come down here and sustain the body? Shama's up there. It's connected to the highest level of spirituality. It's connected to Hashem. Why would it want to come into a body and have to deal with the physical confinement of the material world? Is because the Neshama feels the true greatness of the body in its source. The fact that the root of the body is higher than the root of the soul. And that's why the Neshama wants to sustain the body. So 1 second. What do you mean? We're saying now that the Neshama wants to sustain the body. So Rebbe says, so why do the Chazal, the sages, say it's against your will that you live? That doesn't mean that it's against your will, you're forced by something outside of you. No, the Neshama itself doesn't want to have anything to do with the material world. but because of an outside thing that it feels the greatness of the body. So who forces the neshama to come down into the body? Nobody else. The neshama itself forces itself. That's what it means. You're forced because of something outside of the neshama that it feels the greatness of the body. That's why it's called being forced al karcha against your will. The fact that the neshama feels the source of the body, even though seemingly this feeling has nothing seemingly to do with the concept of the neshama itself. As we can understand from the fact, as we said, that its desire to sustain the body, this feeling is called forced, which means it's something outside of the neshama itself. Why is it that the neshama, what enables the neshama to feel the source of the body, which is something which is totally unconnected with the neshama, nothing to do with the neshama? In order that the neshama should have a desire to sustain the body. Nothing happens to a Jew unless he wants it. The neshama is one with Hashem. The neshama has to want to come down into the body. Now the neshama on its own has no reason whatsoever to want to come down to the body. What causes the neshama to want to come down to the body? So Hashem makes that it should now feel the source of the body, which is Nimshach Bagilu Sheirish Aguf. The neshama now gets in it the revelation of the source of the body. Even the neshama on its own, even in its original source, has nothing to do with this revelation. And through the revealing the source, the root of the body, the way it shines and it comes down into the neshama, at least in a way of forcing, which means in something that's not connected to it, that comes to it from outside of it. Before it comes down to the world. Now that the neshama, before it came down to the world, did get a taste and some type of feeling and connection to the source of the body, now it becomes a vessel that is able to receive the revelation of the source of the body now that it's down here, because it already got that connection before it came down into this world. And it's the same thing with Eidos and Kalim, like we said, that it comes from the Neshama and Guf, and then later it gives to the Neshama and Guf. How does it happen that through the light coming down into the Kli, now there comes into the light, it's felt in it, the root of the Kalim? Because the Eidos and Kalim have to be like the Neshama and the Guf, so therefore in the Oir, in the light, in the energy, it's felt the root of the Kli already before it comes down into the Kli. It's the same thing when it comes to Sfiras Omer and the giving of the Torah. This that we say, that through the Nefesh Alikis coming down in the time of Sfiras Omer to refine and elevate the animal soul. That's what we call Yipakin Meishabecha. Your place is empty, meaning it's lacking, it's missing its true essence of revelation of godliness. It had to come down. It had to remove itself from its revelation in order to come down into the physical, animalistic soul. As a result of this Yipakin Meishabecha, of it going down and being involved in the physical body, as a result, the neshama now gets to Matan Torah. It receives the greatness of Matan Torah, which comes from the Maila, from the advantage of refining the physical sparks of the world. Why does this happen? Because this descent to come down and refine and elevate the faculties and the attributes of the animalistic soul, but it comes la'achre validei agilu di yitzias Mitzrayim, after and as a result of the revelation of the going out of Mitzrayim. Validei agilu di yitzias Mitzrayim, and through this revelation of Yitzias Mitzrayim, the revelation which gives the power to come into the body, Pesach, that gives the power for Sfiras Omer, Vayomer lo Yehonasan, that gives the ability for Yipakin Meishavecha. As a result, Nirgash ba Gam Lifnei Yirida Mailas Habirurim. This Yitzias Mitzrayim enables the neshama, even before it comes down to refine, to elevate the body, to already feel inside it, to have some type of connection in it to something that it doesn't really on its own have a connection to, the greatness and the advantage of the birurim of the physical world. How does this happen? What does Yitzias Mitzrayim, which is totally spiritual, have to do with the birurim, with refining the physical world? Because Yitzias Mitzrayim, going out of Mitzrayim, was with a rechush gadol, with great riches. Great riches is the physical that feels, therefore that causes the neshama to feel the greatness of the source of the physical, which enables it to come down into the body and refine it. This is the meaning of the pasuk. Yehonasan says to David, tomorrow will be Rish Chodesh, and you will be remembered because your place will be empty. In order that this place being empty, which is going into the world, the bittul, there is able to now come as a result v'nifkadita, a much higher connection, a much higher remembrance, an essential connection. That comes through first having the introduction of Vayomer lo Yehonasan, which we explained earlier in the Maamar. That's similar to the idea of Yitzias Mitzrayim and Kriyas Yamsuf. That's the Vayomer lo Yehonasan, the going out of Mitzrayim and going through Yamsuf, which that is the preparation for the birurim of Sfiras Omer. Shal yidei ze nirgash, that as a result it's felt eid lifnei yirida. Through this Vayomer lo Yehonasan. Vayomer lo Yehonasan, what is the power of Vayomer lo Yehonasan? Give David that even before he goes down, he already feels inside him Mailas habirurim, the greatness of refining the physical world. And that's why we say, this is the question we asked in the beginning of the Maamar. Why do we say that v'nifkadita, the remembrance, the ultimate remembrance, comes as a result of the emptiness, as a result of being away, your place being empty? From this, with these words, using the same words, nifkadita and yipakid, which means it's all one thing. So that means that the connection of yipakid and nifkadita doesn't come from the bittul of Yipakin Meishavecha, the fact that, like we explained in the beginning of the Maamar, when the person feels totally batal, he doesn't exist, then he reaches a much higher level. That's not the idea, because we said, V'nifkadita ki Yipakin Meishavecha. It's not just when your place is empty, there's able to be V'nifkadita. There's something there in Yipakid, which in itself, in it, there lies the depth of Nifkadita. Ella mitzad inyin di pakin meishavecha atzmei, di pakin meishavecha itself. Why? The elevation that's caused in the soul as a result of its descending into the body. This is what we were explaining in the Maamar. Bittul is a spiritual level. What's achieved as a result of Yipakin Meishavecha? It's not just a spiritual thing that the neshama reaches now. It's the fact that now the neshama and the body become one. So it's not just the spiritual, it's that it connects to the greatness of the physical body. So bittul is spiritual. There's something deeper in Yipakin, something that it's connecting now to the body itself, to the physical and true existence of the body itself. The same as it is with the neshama and the guf. That as a result of the neshama coming down into the body, it doesn't just reach spiritual levels, but it reaches the greatness of the physical itself. It's not just spiritual levels that come as a result of the greatness of the physical, but it's that in the neshama now there's revealed the greatness of the higher, superior level of the physical itself. It's the same thing also with regards to Yipaked and Vinifkadita, that in addition to the fact that the Yipaked happens as a result of the Nifkadita happens as a result of Yipaked, not just Yipaked brings to the Nifkadita, but more than that. V'nemer Nifkadita ki Yipaked meishavecha, which means the Yipaked ugam lashim Nifkadita, the noise of lazesh Yipaked mevilim Nifkadita. It's the same word. In addition to the fact that Yipaked, the emptiness, brings Vinifkadita, the ultimate remembrance. In addition to that, Gambi Yipaked atzma yesh in Vinifkadita. Yipaked itself has Vinifkadita. Not just Yipaked brings to Vinifkadita, Yipaked is Vinifkadita. Like we said before, not just the neshama brings to a greater level in the neshama, the coming down into a guf, that in itself is the ultimate greatness. Which means, through the fact that the descent of Yipaked Meishavecha, your place being empty, it comes as a result of Vayomer lo Yehonasan. Yehonasan telling him, that gives him the power for coming down into the world, which means that Yehonasan already makes him feel the greatness of the essence of godliness. So as a result, Nirgash Gamba Yerida Atzma Maila Sabirurim. He can now feel even in the descent, not just that it's a descent for the sake of an ascent. He can feel in the descent itself. He can feel in the galus itself. He can feel in the physical material world itself the greatness of the refining the world that comes as a result. When will it be revealed? When will it be felt? Mostly machar, tomorrow, when Mashiach comes, after the descent. But the fact is that even before the descent, he already feels this greatness. And now the Rebbe ends off in the Maamar Vayomer. It's the same thing in the renewal of the Jewish people that will happen in the time of the future redemption. That at that time we will become renewed, just like the moon, just as we say with regards to the moon, that already before Rosh Chodesh, before the moon becomes batal, before the moon goes down, it already feels the greatness that it will receive, that it will attain and achieve as a result. The same thing is with the Jewish people. Shegam be'erev Rosh Chodesh, already on erev Rosh Chodesh, b'regoyim u'achroinim shelifnei hagula, and the last moments before the coming of the Gula, meir me'eino ilid hagula, there already shines a similar type of revelation and energy and light that will be in the time of Gula. Why? Because if the Gullus was only in order to bring the Gula, and the Gula is coming later, now's Gullus, then will be Gula, they can't connect. But if the whole point of the Gullus is that after the Gula will reveal the essence of the greatness and the advantage of Gullus itself, so in Gullus itself, and especially in the last moments before the Gula, there has to already be the shine of the Gula in the Gullus itself, and that's what's going to be revealed when Mashiach comes. How is it revealed? Both with regard to the spiritual ideas, the spiritual things that happen in the time of Mashiach. Gili Pnimis HaTorah, revealing the inner essence of the Torah. Uvaif the Afutzu Meinesecha Chutzan, in a manner of spreading your wellspring till the outside, which that is revealing the Torah of Mashiach. That in the moments before the Gula, it's already being revealed and disseminated in the greatest abundance in every possible place. And also with regards to the physical riches that will be Shia Bagula Asida, that will be in the time of the Gula, because that's the essence of what the Gula is, not just as a reward, because that's the essence we'll find and understand the greatness of the physical material world itself. That Shalachol B'nei Yisrael Tia Parnasa Bar Chava, that even in the moments before the Gula, as a preparation for the Gula, there's already this abundance of Parnasa for every Jew, of livelihood, of Ad Lashiro, still the extent of riches. Umizen, from this boy miyad la'gula, we come immediately from this revelation of the moments before the gula, both spiritually and materially. We come immediately to the gula. That then in the gula both things will be with the ultimate completion. The good will come in abundance, and all of the pleasures of the world and the material world will be found like dirt. And how much more so, that then we're going to come to this abundance in the spiritual matters. The earth will be filled with the knowledge of Hashem, just as the water covers the ocean bed. The general point of the Maamar, the Rabbi explains, in the Haftarah of Machar Chodesh, which we read on Erev Rosh Chodesh, we talk about Yehonasan telling David, tomorrow will be Rosh Chodesh, and you will be remembered because your place will be empty. Which means that because your place, you won't be there in your place, Shaul will remember about you. And the content that we're saying is that the word vinifkadita, which means to be remembered, is the same word as yipakid, which means to be empty. Moreover, the word pakad, the word remembering, also means intimate connection, a total oneness. And what happened in the spiritual idea is that the concept of Erev Rosh Chodesh is that the day before Rosh Chodesh, the moon is in a way of yipakid meishavecha. The moon is in a way of emptiness. The moon disappears. As a result, there's vinifkadta, the moon and the sun become one, so that there's now a new light in the moon. And it's the same thing with regards to what Yehonasan is now saying to David. Yehonasan says to David, through your emptiness, through the fact that you're going to become empty, which is the idea of Malchus, of Atzilus, coming down into the world and refining and elevating the physical world, which means losing the light and the spiritual energy that it had earlier. As a result, v'nifkadito, you'll reach a much higher level and connecting to the essence of Hashem. Moreover, that's what he's saying to him, v'shilashta teirid moed. You'll go down into the world like a segel, that the dot comes below the two dots that are on top of it, going down in order to refine the physical world, and as a result, you'll become the level of Zgula, which is where the dot is above the two other dots, connecting the essence of the Malchus, and as a continuation, the essence of a Jew to Hashem. Now the question that we have is, these are two separate things. How do we call nifkadita and yipakid as one singular, the same word? Seemingly, once you're empty, once you get to the level of bittul, that you're nullified, then you're able to achieve nifkadita, reaching the highest essence, because that comes as a result of what you do, of the avodah that you do. But it's not one thing, it's two separate things. And so the Rebbe explains in the Maamar by first explaining that the general idea of an ifkadta kipakid meishavechas in these 3 months of Nisan, Iyar, and Sivan. Nisan is like Vayomer lo Yehonasan. That's the power of Yitzias Mitzrayim, which gives us the power to be able to go down into the world and refine and elevate the physical world. Iyar is the avodah of Sfiras Omer, when we're actually going into the world and refining and elevating it. Sivan is the sgula, this gulta that we reach and achieve as a result of refining the physical world. Matan Torah, where we become totally one with Hashem, that can only come as a result of refining the physical world. And that's the general idea of the 3 steps and stages in the avodah of a Jew in this world. There's the power that we receive from above. There's going down into the physical world in order to refine it. And there's what we achieve as a result. However, the Rebbe says that there's 2 ways of looking at this. One way of looking at this is that as a result of my coming down into the physical world, into the material world, doing an avodah in which I'm going out of myself doing an avodah in which I have to become involved with the material world, which that's the ultimate dira b'tachtainim, then I reach as a result a much higher strength, and now I can connect to Hashem in a much higher way. But if that was the case, then after my neshama comes down into this world, all it needs to do is go up to Gan Eden, and in Gan Eden it's now going to reach a much higher level. The fact is, that's not the ultimate high. The ultimate high is Tchias HaMeisim, coming back down into the physical body. Why is it necessary for the ultimate achievement to be back in a physical body? Seemingly the physical was only a vehicle, was only in order to get me to the ultimate revelation that I'm going to achieve as a result. So therefore the Rebbe says, no. In truth, there's something much deeper that happens here. Through the neshama coming down here, not only the neshama shows the greatness of the neshama itself, that even in a physical world, the physicality doesn't limit it. Something more than that. By the neshama coming down to a physical world, it reaches the ultimate root of physicality that's higher than spirituality, because the root and the source of physicality is connected to the essence of Hashem. The choice that Hashem chooses the body of a Jew is because of a bechira chavshis, a free choice that's not limited to anything. That comes from the very essence of Hashem. When the neshama comes into the body, it attains and achieves and gets connected also to the essence of what the body is. That's why v'nifkadeta and yipaket are one word. You're not just coming down and having a spiritual avodah of bittul, and as a result the neshama attains a higher spiritual level. Coming down into the world in itself is what becomes revealed later in the neshama in the physical body. And the same thing is understood with regards to the coming of Mashiach. We know that in order to reach the coming of Mashiach, there has to be the avodah of galus, in the concealment of galus, in the ultimate darkness of galus, in refining and elevating the nations of the world, the physical world. Now, the seeming way that we look at it is that there's the avodah of galus, which is in order to achieve a greater revelation in the time of Mashiach. If that was the case, then now in galus we have to be involved with that galus and with that physicality and material world. Once Mashiach comes, we're free of it. But the truth is just like the neshama in the body. The ultimate revelation in the time of Mashiach will be with the rechush gadol, an abundance in the physical world, an abundance of riches in the physical world, because in there it will be revealed the essence of Hashem that we achieved and that we reached as a result of our avodah in the time of galus. How do we get that? Through the fact that even before the neshama comes down, Hashem already shows it the greatness of the body. And the same thing is that even before going to galus, Nisan, in Nisan we already had the great riches by coming out of Mitzrayim. That gave us the neshama a taste of what it means to refine the physical world, and the ultimate revelation of that, that's the Vayomer Yehonasan, that gives the power for Yipaket Meishavecha. The ultimate revelation, the V'nifkadeta, will be in the time of Mashiach. And that's why in the time of Mashiach it's not just spiritual. On the contrary, it's the ultimate, is the riches and the physical and the abundance in the material world. That in itself will give us and will complete the Mala Aretz Deis Havaya, because then the knowledge of Hashem will be so much deeper. It will be in connection to the essence of the physical, which is connected to the essence of godliness. And that's why we get this already as a preparation for the time of Mashiach. Already in Galus now we have the light, both of revealing the ultimate spirituality with the revelation of Chassidus, and already the riches and the abundance that will be in the time of Mashiach. We already get the taste of that now. And now we reveal both in the physical and in the study of Chassidus, which is the spiritual, and in the physical material world, we reveal that Aleph, the essence of godliness, and as a result, we come to the ultimate revelation of what it's really all about with the time of Mashiach. Chodesh, from Machar we get to the Chodesh,